from the
me
patriarchy.
Let's let her finish. Go
I
ahead.
would really like to not be interrupted while talking about
ahead.
this.
I know you wouldn't, but I just wanted to predict it, that's all.
You can hold your predictions until the end. I appreciate it.
Go ahead.
Well, then it wouldn't be a prediction if I held it till the end.
Are you done?
I am.
Thank you. Essentially, patriarchy is a system of punishments and rewards. Women oppress other women in these instances. That is what toxic femininity is. Anyone can benefit off a system of patriarchy. Women will make little tiny digs at other women and they'll gain slight respect of other men. It comes in many different forms. Like, for example, like a woman just talking badly about like classic feminine traits, like, oh, that's so girly, oh, I hate wearing makeup, like I would never do that, like women who wear makeup are insecure, da 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 da, all these things. When women say those things, it gains them some sort of social capital under a system of patriarchy. Anyone can benefit from a system of patriarchy, but it functions off the idea that men are superior to women.
So internalized misogyny.
Not necessarily, because
if women are oppressing other women under a patriarchal system and they're doing it in order to score points with whoever's in charge of the patriarchy, that would be considered internalized misogyny, right?
That's one example of it, but the internalized misogyny is just one aspect of patriarchy. That's not the entire
Now, I
idea.
didn't say that was the entire aspect of patriarchy. I said
know,
in
I
the
was just
specific
clarifying.
example of women oppressing other women through the means of patriarchy in order to score points with the patriarchy, that's internalized misogyny, right?
Yes, I would say by definition. Do you want to add in?
No.
So then my prediction was correct. That's why I wanted to get it on record.
Okay.
So I have a couple follow-up questions on this. So I mean, you mentioned that women can oftentimes be say negative things about other women. I think
Yes.
that's perhaps getting a little bit away from my questioning here, though, because we're talking about patriarchy. I'm not totally sure how that ties in unless you have an explanation. But
Okay. Yeah, I do have an explanation.
okay, I have some more questions for you afterwards, but go ahead.
Okay, so as I've said before, patriarchy isn't just men oppressing women, it's the idea. Women can still hold patriarchal ideas, even as women. Society functions under patriarchal ideals. These things are taught to us since we're young. They're taught to us in many different things, in many different forms. They're taught to us in different behaviors, school, just different societal norms. Like,
You gotta be a mom. You gotta
yes.
have to cook.
You gotta talk in the mic if you're gonna.
You gotta
speak.
have domestic roles and you're gonna be I don't know, things like that along that line.
Yes.
So-
those assigning gender roles at a very young age, like, oh, women are always expected to cook and clean, women are expected to give childbear, like all of these things function under a system of patriarchy. And when these behaviors are repeated over time and time again, it sustains this idea. Like all of these different actions and behaviors and institutions that these ideals are ingrained into, that's what sustains the idea over time. Now,
Wait, so you mentioned an objection to this view that women should be moms or have children. Isn't there a biological basis though?
yes, I think
For
that,
that?
obviously, yes, I'm not denying that, but I think that women should be given the choice of whether they want to be a mom
Sure.
or not.
Nobody should be compelled
Yes,
to.
and I think that, but a lot of times in society, like as a girl, it's assumed by a lot of people that I want to have children. People don't say, oh, would you like to be a mom? They assume that I am going to become a mom one day. That is assumed that that's my natural role as I get older.
Can you say the same thing for men?
I don't think so in the same way. I think that it's definitely there. It's definitely present. Like there is still that expectation, but
Like
take
marriage.
for example, like two stereotypes, right? You have like a woman in her 40s who doesn't have children versus a man in his 40s who doesn't have children. When you think of the woman in her 40s, you're like, oh, she's lonely, she's a spinster, she has no purpose, like she doesn't have a family, like she can't possibly have like that inner joy within her life. Think of a man in his 40s, oh, he'll settle down at some point, he's a bachelor, he's just enjoying his life, like all of these things.
Do you think there's a biological basis for this?
I think at some point, just because of due to like the reproductive system, yes, but I do think that a large component is societal.
Yeah, well, I think that that's all bullshit. So here's a good example of why it's bullshit. It ignores ontology, and you know what ontology is. You were taught that in your feminist studies course, right?
No, I don't know what that is. Could you please
No,
elaborate?
you weren't taught ontology in your feminist study course. They don't ever teach ontology. So
I'm just being
the study of
honest.
being, meaning that there's a difference between men and women. They're not interchangeable widgets as much as feminists would like to pretend that we are. We each have a separate ontological nature. Our very nature and being is different. This is why these stereotypes exist. They exist because the actual root in which is a man and what is a woman are totally different from one another.
Right,
And so when you take these loaded terms like patriarchy, what's ignored by feminists is nature. Not nature as in the natural world, but rather the nature of what the thing actually is. Men and women are not the same thing.
I never said
Period.
that word.
And
Okay.
so because of that, we have a different telos, a different purpose. And this is why when people think about purpose and they say, oh, the 40-year-old spinster, this is not something which is socially pressured as much as it is a way for us to understand the nature of women is to make children. This must be the case because there's no other way they can be made. And so, of course, we would see that women who defy their own nature are going to be more miserable than not. Anything which devolves away from its own purpose tends to not be very happy.
Do you think that as a woman, my only purpose is to have children?
I think it's your ultimate telos.
You think that the most fulfilling, joyful experience I could ever have in my life is to have children,
As opposed to,
Yes.
as opposed to anything
So many
else?
other
wait, can I, so let me
So
ask you.
here, hang on. Let me finish real quick, Brian.
Okay. I'll go after
All right,
you.
let me
Go
give you the straight
No,
answer.
I want to hear what you have to say.
Yes. And why?
Okay.
Why would I think that? Well, because all of the evidence, which I have and you have, would indicate that that is true. A, can men have children?
No.
No. Who can?
Women.
And the primary edict from an evolutionary standpoint is reproduction, is it
Yeah.
not?
Well, yeah, of course. Nobody's denying that.
So then if the primary edict is reproduction and only women can have children, then it seems that the nature and purpose for women ultimately is to be the ones who have children. Otherwise, we go extinct, right? That wouldn't make a lot of sense.
Right.
So yes, of course, I would tie generally the purpose of the thing to the thing.
Yeah. Okay. You're finished, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that is all absolutely true. There's nothing I can disagree about that. But why the need for like zero effort in wanting progress, like wanting more than that? That is
Why? What can be more? What? I don't understand how you can deliver more progress to society than replication. For instance, rocks and non-biological things cannot replicate. You can actually replicate your genetics. You can do that.
Yeah, that's a miracle.
Solely biological beings only can do this.
Yeah, that's a miracle, and that's
what
great.
could ever be a higher purpose than that for a woman? I would actually like to know
I
that.
don't
What
know.
would be
I
a higher purpose
personally-
for a woman than replication?
I personally, if I were to have a child right now, I would not be like, this is the end of it. I'm the happiest I've ever been, and this is the happiest I'm ever going to be.
How do
this
you
is
know?
amazing. I know because purpose
Because-
isn't just like being a mom. There's
Yeah,
plenty of
yeah.
other
Are
things
you a
that
mom?
fulfill me. No, I'm not.
Then how the fuck would you know?
Because there's plenty of other things
Like,
that
what are
I
you talking
have-
about?
I'm talking about the things that have given me purpose, that have fulfilled me and kept me alive and happy and not still wanting to have to be a mom prematurely because that's
Sure.
my purpose.
So let me
and that's
ask you
what- I
very
have to do it
directly,
right
very
now,
directly.
or I'm never going to be able to.
Let me just ask you very directly. What could you ever do in your life that would be more important than replicating your genes?
Oh my God.
Honestly,
where do I
if we're
begin?
gonna go into that territory, then like there's plenty
Where
of
do you
other
begin?
things.
Then there's
Where do I
what?
begin?
Helping
Yeah,
other
what?
children that don't have parents, maybe.
You mean
I
whose
don't
genes
have
have
to
already been
replicate my
replicated?
own genes to do that. That comes from like a really selfish.
So
like-
somebody else has been able to replicate their genes? but not
No,
you.
but you know, like if there's 5 children that don't have parents, they have nothing, and then I'm over here wanting to replicate myself in that like selfish state of mind.
Why would that
I
be
have
selfish?
the choice of doing it. It's a bit selfish because you can help this child that is gonna die
Hold on.
without
I want to bring it
Why
back to
wouldn't? Why can't you help the child and replicate?
The resources are gonna
Andrew,
have to
I'm going
be.
to get things back on track a little bit.
Wait,
So
what? Wait. I don't even understand the argument.
It's off the rails.
So
can't-
you don't
you can't-
replicate because there's children out there who are in need?
Yeah, you don't have to replicate in order to have that feeling of motherhood.
Somebody has to replicate.
If you're talking
though.
about purpose.
Wait, somebody has to replicate for those
There's plenty
children
of
to
people
exist.
replicating all over the fucking world right now. So
So
that's
somebody
that's a
has to
valid
replicate,
point.
right?
Yes, but that.
So if that's the case, then
you're talking
still
about
you would still be
purpose.
fulfilling your ultimate purpose,
Yeah, you're
which
talking-
would be
yeah,
to
yeah.
take care of what is replicated.
Hold on.
Same
You were,
thing.
you were going to say, where do I begin? Go ahead.
Yes. There's a lot of other things that I am excited to that I think are my purpose besides childbirth. And personally, speaking from the perspective as a woman, you are not a biological woman. There is a list of things that I am more excited to do than give birth to children at the moment. I'm more excited.
Wait a second. Are you saying that there's a distinction between people who self-identify as women and biological women?
No, I'm saying that you're not a biological woman.
Well, then I can have the same exact lived experience you do.
Do you identify as a woman?
It wouldn't matter, would it? All that matters is that I could have the same exact lived experience as you if you make no distinction between the self-ID and the biological. And if you don't, and you said you don't, then you can't say you're not a biological woman, so therefore X.
Can I please finish?
Yeah, but you can finish after you clarify how it is that you can tell me what my lived experience is when you make no distinction between the biological and whatever my self-ID may be.
You know what? I am sorry for assuming your self-ID. That was wrong on my part.
So I can have the same exact lived experience as a biological woman, right?
Do you think you have the lived experience?
That's not my question. What's my question? I could have the same exact experience as a biological woman under your worldview, correct?
You're arguing that
Are you going to answer my question?
I am answering your question, and I need you to stop interrupting me.
Yeah, okay, so yes or no, could I have the same experience as a biological woman without being a biological woman under your worldview? Yes or no?
If you would let me finish, you would know that I have.
Do you know how to say the word yes, and do you know how to say the word no? That way I know what your position is. Don't obfuscate, don't bullshit me, just say yes or no. And if it's no, then you can qualify, and if it's yes, you can qualify.
Can I please speak? I would like to speak my answer without being interrupted.
Go ahead.
Here is my perspective. You are arguing, right, that as a biological woman, due to my hormones, my purpose, the greatest, most fulfilling thing in my life is having children, right? And multiple.
I want you're not answering my question.
I'm clarifying your point before I do.
You
because
just
I
asked
wanna
me a
make sure.
question. You just asked me a question. You didn't answer my question, so I'm going to ask you again. Under your worldview, can I have, by self-identifying as a woman, the same exact experience that you have as a biological woman or not?
I think it's more complex than that. Is it okay for
You
me
got to
say
speak
that
into
I
the
don't?
mic or I can't hear you.
I think it's personally more complex than that, and I quite honestly don't have a yes or no answer, and I think it's more subjective on a case-to-case basis.
Right.
And
So
I'm
you
sorry
don't,
if
you
that
don't, so you
answer-
don't know.
No,
So you don't even
if
know if
that
there's a
answer doesn't
distinction between
satisfy
someone
you,
who's a
that's
biological
okay.
woman and someone who just self-IDs. How can you use the fact that you're a biological woman as an argument then?
I personally, I have tried to explain my point, and I have tried to explain to you that I do not think that this is a yes or no question. I think that it is simply on a case-to-case basis. It's not black and white. I think it's a little more complex than that. And it's okay if you don't, if that answer
The
doesn't
concept
satisfy
is
you.
too complex for my feeble mind to comprehend that
No,
you can't
that's
say
not what I'm
yes
saying.
or no to a direct question. Now, I'd like to demonstrate for you the distinction between the two of us. You can go ahead and ask me the same exact question, and I will say yes or I will say no, and then give my qualifier. Because either one's true or it's not true.
Can I please continue?
You were done. It was my turn to speak.
I have
What do you
something
mean?
else to say.
I have some questions too. If I could ask a couple.
Yeah, if you want to be
I
brought
could throw a
back
couple.
into
I could
convo,
throw a
yeah.
couple questions out there.
Are you gonna?
Oh yeah. I thought Andrew had more. You got more?